I'm Jen Taylor Skinner, and this is the Electorette. On this episode, I have a conversation with actress and comedian Niccole Thurman. Niccole Thurman is incredibly talented and very, very funny. I've been a fan of Niccole's work for a while now, and I wanted to have her on because after following the political news cycle day in and day out for the past couple of years, I really needed some comic relief. So here is my conversation with the talented Niccole Thurman. Niccole Thurman, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so thrilled to have you on. You know, it feels like you've been everywhere lately. You were on a Black Lady sketch show, and that's on HBO.
Yes, yeah.
And I love that show. And you were also on Shrill on Hulu. But, you know, it was your work on Comedy Central with the opposition with Jordan Klepper.
Yeah, that's it. I was on that. I was wondering how you'd see me. I was like, was it Twitter or was it one of the shows? But yeah, the opposition was the big one.
Yeah. So a couple of the segments that you did that I was really impressed with or I really liked was the one where you were pretending. I think this was your debut. You were pretending to be a Black Trump supporter, a Black conservative, which is really funny. And then the second one was Diamond and Silk. Like, how do you prepare for something like that?
Well, it's interesting. The one where I was pretending to be a Trump supporter at a rally was the premiere show. And that was actually the piece that one of the pieces that I had submitted to get on the show. So it was like the first thing that I had written to audition for the show, like, you know, in August. And so then when I actually did end up being on the show, they were like, what was that piece that you wrote when you were auditioning? And I was like, oh, the one where I was like at a Trump rally and I was really excited. And they're like, yeah, let's do that one to like introduce your character. So it was pretty cool to be able to do that. I just thought it was a funny concept of, I don't know, this like Black woman who has no idea like why she stands out at a Trump rally, but is very excited to be standing out because she loves attention. And I just thought, because that was kind of like, this is a long answer to you seeing segments, but my whole idea with that character was I was kind of like, for me personally, I was like, how can I, because we were playing conservatives, and I was like, how can me as a Black woman, like, how can I justify that I would be a conservative? And then I was like, oh, if it was like somebody who just liked attention and liked to be different and stand out and like it liked bullies, then that would be perfect. And that's her thing, you know? And that's actually, that was part of that was when you're talking about Diamond and Silk, they were part of the inspiration for the character. It was kind of like, I wanted it to be a mix between Diamond and Silk and maybe kind of a Candace Owens. Because that's the only way I could see if I ever was a Trump supporter. I'd be like, oh, it's only for the superficial reasons, none of the real reasons. And that's kind of how like Diamond and Silk are. So it was fun to be able to go after them on the show too, because they're just crazy characters, and they just like do not care about the fact that they're just like completely selling themselves out for attention. They just don't care. They're like shameless with it, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, even people on the left, approach them as if they're serious. And I'm like, it's so obvious they are not serious, right? Like they're literally in costume, right? Like the huge glasses. I mean,
right. I mean, the thing is, I think it's like both, because I kind of think that they are serious on some level, but they don't really, it doesn't seem like they really care about politics. So it's not like they're really serious about like his, you know, policies or anything like that. I don't even know what Trump's policies are besides just be mean to everybody. But I think they like him. I think they actually genuinely like him, which is mind-boggling enough. But I think then yeah, it's like you start to see like what people respond to. Like I'm sure when they got like 2 views on their YouTube channel, when they didn't talk about anything political, they were like, but then when they start talking about Trump, they're like, oh, well, now people are paying attention to us, so let's just keep this up. And then they exaggerate it for sure. And it's sad because it's like, I don't know. It's just like, that's a caricature of Black people. It's like a kind of like that kind of thing that like, oh, these are the dumbest people in the room. Let's talk to them. And if they like Trump, then they'll convince, you know, other Black people to like Trump. The whole thing about it was just, it's so weird. Everything about it's weird.
It is. And you know, the thing is that, so what did they talk about before they started talking about Trump on their YouTube channel? Like what could they possibly have had to talk about?
It's so funny because I was just looking, I literally was just Googling that because I was like, wait, what did they, because yes, okay, I remember, yes, they used to be Democrats. So I forgot about this. They became Republicans in 2015. So they saw Donald Trump and they were like, we like you. And so that's what made them switch. So I think that they were talking about politics, and I mean, I think they were talking about like, you know, pop culture and things like that, but they were definitely on the left before. And then when they saw Trump, they were like, yeah, he's cool. I don't know. I think it was just, it seems to me, it just seems like that kind of like reality TV culture. That is why he even won. Like the only reason certain people are popular is just because they're kind of like acting trashy or acting like caricatures.
Yeah.
And so that's what it seems like. It seems like that's what they were like, oh, that's like a way to make money. And so then they just went with that. They said, we're on the Trump train now. Which is what my character used to say. Like, I'm on the Trump train, like just because you don't think about it. You're just doing it. You're just going with what's popular, what's making money.
Yeah. I could talk, I won't, but I could talk about them for an entire episode just because I'm so fascinated. There was this profile of them which talked about their past, right? And like what they used to do before, they had this YouTube channel and I forget, they live in some little town. Their family has like a store or some business where they sell like oils and essential oils and like cures for things, right?
Yeah.
And, and it's just like stuff that probably, won't work. They're like the black version of Goop.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh God. That would be the trashiest black version of anything.
And so I have a confession. I do avoid their Twitter page, like at all costs, right? Their Twitter page and their YouTube channel. But when I do, like, it just like sucks you in. You can't stop watching. Right? It's like, you remember that movie, The Ring, with Naomi Watts in that video that you put in? I don't know if you saw the movie, The Ring. And this video,
you're just, like, staring at it.
You're just staring at it. And then like you die or something like the next day or something.
Yeah.
And I feel like I get possessed by their videos and I can't stop watching because I just don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, I think something about it. I think that's probably part of the appeal and part of what that like market that they've tapped into in a weird way of like this, like you're like watching them like almost like a train wreck or like The Ring. Like you're just like, what is this? But then you realize, oh, well, now I've watched, 2 or 3 of their videos. Like they're just, I don't know. They're the worst. It's like, I mean, in a way, it's like a minstrelly type performance. Like the way they are, it's just wild. And you find yourself, I mean, and it's nothing, it works for them, but I just don't understand how, because it's like people are laughing at them, like not with them. Like that's what I said on this piece that I did on the opposition, but it was like people are not laughing with them. People are laughing at them and they just like profit off of that. And I guess that's okay with them. But like, to me, it just seems like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you see that a lot though. I mean, I feel like I've seen that with a lot of but you think of these people that are like popping up and just have like the craziest views, even like celebrities that you haven't heard from in years. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, Kid Rock sure has a lot to say. Like, oh, Rob Schneider, he really has a lot of opinions all of a sudden, Cause it's like the worst of the worst is coming out in support. And because they realize it's what gets attention right now is like people not being able to turn away from that.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And I didn't think about it that way. You're right. There are a lot of celebrities that are now like making politics like their new bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, and some are sincere, right? And that's not a bit. Like some are sincerely, they're citizens too, and they care about stuff, right? But then there's some of them, like you said, like Kid Rock, who are clearly, just trying to ride the Trump train, right?
Right, exactly. And that's the Diamond and Silk thing. Yeah, ride the Trump train.
But Diamond and Silk aren't entertainers, they aren't actresses. And so I'm just curious about this dynamic because you're in LA, you're an actress, you're a comedian, and you're in the business, right? Like, have you seen anybody, that's like their career might be, kind of not going so well. And they're like, hey, I think I'll come out do you know anybody personally?
I don't. I wish I did. No, I don't wish I did. That would be bad. No, I don't think that I do. But I think that, like, to me, that's what I think of when I think of like, I'm totally just calling him out, but it's like Rob Schneider to me is like that, like a person that you haven't heard from in years that kind of isn't really working or doing anything. And then all of a sudden they're like becoming very vocal of certain policies or like certain things that happen in the news or even comedians that say things like, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but like when they're saying things like, we can't do any comedy anymore. Comedy is dead because everybody's too PC. Like all the left is so easily triggered and like that kind of stuff. Like there's all these like jokes about comedians making specials called Triggered. Like once they get canceled, that's their comeback. Like that's a joke, but like it just feels like it's like that's the way for people to get back in. It feels like making noise. And Diamond and Silk, they're not performers, but they are performers. That wasn't their career path, but it's definitely what they are now because that's not their personalities. They're definitely being heightened versions of themselves. You see a lot of people doing that have kind of just like, you're like, wait, weren't you famous in like the 80s? And now all of a sudden we're like hearing you and talking about you. And why are we talking about you? Oh, because you support Trump and you're just like trying to make noise. I don't know. It's a weird time.
Did you do a segment on Candace Owens?
We did. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I missed that one.
Oh yeah.
That
I emailed it to you. I emailed you a link so you can see it when we get done, if you want to.
I'm sorry. Like,
no, it's fine.
You just called out like, I don't read my email. You just called me.
Oh, did you? Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know I was calling you out. I'm sorry. No. Well, why did you read your email? No. I did though. It was during that time when, I don't know if you remember this, April 2018, I think it was. Kanye West tweeted. Oh, God. Do you remember this at all? He tweeted, I like how Candace Owens thinks. And that was all he said. But it was like, dude, are you kidding me with this right now? Because it's like, he has such a big platform, and Candace Owens is like, I mean, she's same ideology, but opposite ends of like personality spectrum of Diamond and Silk, where they say, you know, Black people have been on the Democratic plantation for too long, and like, you need to get off the plantation and start thinking for yourself. And she says stuff like, Black people are privileged too. Like, I don't know why Black people say they don't have privilege. And like that was during the period where Kanye West said like slavery was a choice. And like, it was like, they were all, it was like all these kind of ideas of like, Black people have had it wrong for the last 400 years. And it's like, oh my God, are we really doing this? Like, are we really doing this?
Yeah, I remember that. That was my favorite week on Black Twitter.
Oh, it was crazy. Oh my God, it was so funny. Yeah, everybody was just losing their mind. I mean, because it's hilarious. And that's what the piece I did on the opposition was, like, we did a Get Out parody, you know, Get Out when they stir the tea and like take the Black people to the sunken place. Yeah. Like, we were making jokes about Kanye West and Candace Owens being in the sunken place because I don't know. Candace Owens is very interesting, though. She really is, because I've seen like interviews with her. I cannot, like, I'm so sorry. I wish I had remembered all these people that I was trying to talk about, but there's some guy that interviews people on YouTube. I feel like his last name is Rogan, but that can't be right. But
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he interviewed her, and you see her being interviewed. And I'm telling you, she's one of those people too, where in a way you can't look away when you're watching it, because you're like, what? But like, also Candace Owens though has a way of talking where you almost get it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, okay. Like, I totally see your point, and I don't think you're completely wrong. But for me, it's like when you start saying stuff about being a conservative and being on board with Donald Trump, that's when you lose me, you know? But she definitely has a way of talking where you're like, okay, I mean, I get your point. I don't know.
It's hard. Yeah. You know, but now you've got me thinking, like, I need to go back and analyze, because once you're out of that zone of being hypnotized by these videos, right, you can think clearly and say, you know, oh, that was bullshit. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like what she just said, and you can think about it. But while you're watching it, she does have a way of linking points that make them sound logical. But like, honestly, if you really take them away and you analyze them, it isn't any deeper than what Diamond and Silk are saying.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like, exactly the same thing. No, it's
exactly the same thing.
I think it's just, from what I mean, the little I know about it, it seems like that's just a general Black conservative consensus of like the idea or the way they think of like, Black people have been on the Democratic plantation. The Democrats have done nothing for Black people. So why are we still Democrats? Just because we're Black, we have to be Democrats? And I totally agree with that. Like, why do you have to automatically have to be liberal just because you're Black? You don't. But the thing is, when conservatives are actively fighting against people of color and women and, you know, anyone that's marginalized, then how can you still support them? And that's the thing that's where the disconnect happens for me. It's like, yeah, sure, you can think whatever you want. Just because you're a Black person, you shouldn't have to think one way particularly. But that doesn't mean that you should be supporting racists. I mean, that doesn't make sense either, you know?
Right, but they oversimplify the argument. Like, absolutely. Yeah, of course you can do whatever you want. You can be a part of any party, and you can name that party the clown party. You can name that party like the apples party. Like, on that really simplistic level, like, sure, no one has to be a part of any party just because of, you know, their race or their gender. But the thing is that they lack, I don't know if they don't have historical context or they ignore historical context, but it's just like, if you look at where we've been over the decades, over the centuries with Republicans versus Democrats, generally we live in a society where, you know, there's, you know, racism and bias and you know, sexism, and there isn't one party that is free of that, but there is one party who is actively campaigning on that, right? And so you can't make the argument, they can't make the argument outside of that context, or it's the only way they can make that argument by excluding the historical context.
Yeah, by excluding the historical context and completely invalidating it by saying like that 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow and all these things didn't affect Black people, which is something Candace is on video saying, and it's calling Black people privileged. It's like you're completely invalidating something that's like, it's right there. It's obvious. It has had an effect. Like you can literally look at numbers. And so it's like, you can't just say that. So yeah, it is like, it's like they just are ignoring the facts, and they're ignoring that one side has neither side is perfect, but one side definitely has fought actively, especially recently, against the people that you're telling to come to your side. When it's like, why do you want us to come to that side? These people are terrible. It's obvious.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'm ready for my life to change.
ABC Sunday, American Idol returns.
Give it your all. Good luck. Come out with the golden ticket.
Let's hear it.
This is a man's world.
I've never seen anything like it.
And a new chapter begins. Carrie Underwood joins Lionel Richie, Luke Bryan, and Ryan Seacrest on American Idol. Season premiere Sunday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
So the Obamas, they just celebrated their wedding anniversary. I don't know which one it was, like the
27th.
27th. Yeah. Why did we just remember that number?
I don't know. I don't know, actually. I saw it on social media, but why do I remember it?
That's right. It's not like it's not like 30 or like 20 or 50. It's 27. But because everybody still loves the Obamas, right?
Oh my God, so much.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's also because when I looked at it, for some reason I was like, oh, only 27 years, but it makes sense. Like they're not that old, but it just like, I thought they'd be married forever for some reason.
Yeah. So I just felt like the whole country was collectively crying.
Yeah. Oh my God. I feel like every time Obama posts a picture, people are crying. People are like, we miss you. Like, it's just like, it's such a funny, it's just also because the difference is so between the two is so apparent. Like one just seems to have empathy and speaks so eloquently and is such a like lovely, intelligent person. And the other one is like complete trash and like crass and misspelling and, doesn't know what they're talking about. So it's like, we miss the smart, sweet guy that we used to date.
Totally. But I was looking it up because I was thinking like, is it just my bias because I like Obama and I like Michelle Obama? And so I looked up, I think it was 2 or 3 analysis by historians, and Barack Obama comes out on top of the list of best presidents ever.
Wow.
Right? Like he consistently comes out, on top. And so it's not just my bias.
Right.
And, I would imagine that Trump probably, once he's done, yeah, he's going to be like at the very, 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 very bottom.
Totally.
But I was also reading this study about how they said therapists and doctors have reported an increased amount of depression and anxiety amongst people, since Trump's been elected. And I don't know. I mean, has it affected you personally? I know it has me. Like, I just feel like I drink a lot more.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so funny. I quit drinking a year and a half ago. And like every day I'm like, why did I do that? I'm like, that was a good way to deal with stress. Like, what am I thinking? But I don't know. I just like have this app on my phone that just makes me like really competitive with myself. So I'm just like, I'm just going to keep it up. But yes, of course. Oh my God. Like, it's hard because sometimes like I'm a big Twitter person. And I think that particularly if you're a big, I mean, maybe this is just me making this up, but from what I've just felt, it feels like if you're a big Twitter person and you're like online a lot, it's like unavoidable. And it's also just, it feels devastating. It feels hopeless. I mean, it does. Like, I haven't had like the most stellar year of my life in general. But then when you're like looking at the news and like, it just feels like every day feels like an assault. It's definitely a way more stressful and anxious time. And I think, like even my therapist, I know because I'm sometimes I'm very self-absorbed. And so like, I was just like going to therapy, like pretty much as a regular person, like kind of close to after the election happened. And I remember she was just so depressed looking.
Oh, no.
And she was just like, yeah, well, the world is really scary right now. And she kept saying that. And I was like, oh yeah. But like, also I'm talking about like my ex-boyfriend, like I was being terrible, but it just feels like it's palpable now. It feels like it's more people are dealing with more because it's a scary time, and it's in your face more than it's ever been. The corruption and the just like evilness and like lack of empathy to me is what's really disturbing. That's the part that really gets me, I think, is like, it just is like, you just don't care about anyone, but unless they're exactly like you, like that's crazy. It just is it feels scary when you it's so transparent that a lot of people in power only care about themselves or care about their money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm going to be your therapist now. Why is it terrible that you want to talk about your ex-boyfriend? Like, it's like, it's self-care, right? Like you can't like stop taking care of yourself because our government is terrible. So yeah.
And first of all, I never will stop taking care of myself. So you're right. And like, I totally agree with you because I'm like, no, let's talk about me. I don't know. I think I felt bad because I was like, I don't know. Like, I was like, oh, am I supposed to talk about there's only, for me, I don't know. For me, it's like sometimes I hit a wall where there's only so much I can deal with it. And then I have to disconnect and maybe deal with my own stuff for a little bit and then go back to like dealing with like, okay, what's happening in the world? This is scary. Because so that's how I felt. Was I was like, I need to like just talk about myself a little bit more, especially because it's therapy. And that's what I like to do is talk about myself. But I felt like she was like, oh, the world though. And I'm like, oh yeah, the world for sure. for sure. But like also you gotta focus.
Yeah, that's totally not what it's for. Like you just made me think because I never am therapy. Like I never talk about. Like I just only talk about myself, right? Because like that's what it's for. It's to help me be a better person so I can help other people.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's what it's for. I mean, that's what you're doing it for. Is you want to be better so you can be better with other people. That's for sure. If everybody did that, then we'd be in a lot better position. That's for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of self-care, I actually just started following you on Instagram, and I did see that you posted something about not drinking, right? Which is, great. My birthday was actually a couple of days ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. And my friends took me out to drink, and I feel like so old now because my body cannot process. I've always been a lightweight. Even in college, I was a lightweight, but I had 2/3 of a glass of wine and I had a
Oh my God, really? Oh my God.
And then I saw your post. I was like, maybe I should be doing that too. Right? Like maybe. And then you had like a whole health thing, like an overhaul. Yes. How was that for you? How did that? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting. Like being on the show was on the opposition was a very challenging time for me. Like it was like a weird time where I went through this like really, really bad breakup. And then I got the job like 3 months after the breakup. So it was like I was in this really weird period because then I had to move from LA to New York. And so all of a sudden I was living in New York. I was single and I was like, what just happened? Like I didn't know where I was, it felt like. And so then it was like, when you're working at the show, you're like eating catering every day. And I was sitting at a desk for the first time. I had never had a desk job. So I just like started, and I was drinking a lot because like living in New York, I feel like I drink more than when I live in LA or even, Chicago, I drank a lot too. But those are bigger drinking cities. And so like I was drinking more. And so I was just like putting on all this weight and I was just like stressed out and like feeling bad because I was drinking so much on the weekends that it would be like during the weekdays, I would still be feeling bad. Like not drinking so much, but just like drinking like, and then only having 2 days off when I wasn't used to having that like 9 to 5 life. Yeah. So like when right before the show got canceled, maybe like a month before, I was like, I came back from this vacation and I was just feeling like the same way where it's like you're getting older and you get hungover like so much worse. And so I was just like, I think I'm going to take like a 2-week break from drinking, at least maybe a month. And so then I got this app on my phone so that I would literally do it to the day, could count the days that I had not been drinking. And I just started the app. And then, like I said, because I'm competitive with myself, after like 2 weeks, I was like, I think I could do this for a month. And then after a month, I was like, I think I could do this for 3 months. And then I just kept doing it and like watching the counter go up and up and up, And so then I set like a year milestone or whatever it's called on my phone to count that day as a milestone. And so then I did a year and then I was like, well, I could do a year and a half. Like I just keep going more and more because like once you quit drinking, it's been really good for me. Like it's just been really good for me mentally and physically. I've like lost like 30 pounds. I've been working out a lot more than I used to. So yeah, it was like a complete overhaul. It was crazy because then when the show got canceled, it was like all I had to focus on was like not drinking and like working out. And it was a good time to do an overhaul because I had the time on my hands. But so yeah, it was like, it ended up being really good for me. I mean, it was hard because it's like, it sucks. Like right when you get like, you lose your job suddenly, then I'm not drinking and I'm like, how am I going to deal with this pain? But it's like, you figure it out.
Yeah. Well, no, I saw that because you're really open, and I, you know, applaud you being really open, because then I'm thinking, because I'm the same way. First of all, I'm realizing that even when I was 21, drinking was hard for me. Like I would have one drink and I would be out, right? So my body has been telling me for years that alcohol doesn't work for me. So I'm thinking like, maybe I should just try that, because for some crazy reason I have 2 podcasts now. And so I like work around the clock, and my sleep schedule is just when I fall over. Like that's when I go to sleep. Like when I just... when it's just kind of like
baked
just like
exhausted,
from, you know, exhaustion.
Right.
You know, but then every day I wake up and it's like, this is the day I'm going to become a yogi.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. I never stuck to a workout plan. Even lately though, I've been falling off lately because I haven't been feeling like it. It's hard. It's, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to find that time to like, to stop, especially like you said, you have 2 podcasts, you're just like crazy busy. And like, sometimes it's hard because you just get in the habit of just getting through the day sometimes. Like that's how I've been lately too, is like, I've been really busy. So I've just been trying to get through the day and then I come home and pass out. I don't know what made me all of a sudden change, but cause I think I was not a lightweight. Like I could drink a lot. And I think I'm just open about it. Cause it's just like, I don't know. I've always been like that. Like I'm pretty like transparent about everything. I don't really mind people knowing my business. Sometimes I regret telling people all my business, but like whatever at the same time. The overhaul is definitely hard. You go through like a roller coaster when you quit drinking. Like you can't be like, oh my God, I had such a long day, I'm just gonna have a glass of wine while I watch TV. Because that's a nice way to unwind. But when you don't have that, you're just like, oh my God, I just have to deal with my day. It sucks.
Yeah. But I can't do, like, I'm useless. Like I can't do anything else. And, you know, so that for me, it's just like practical. And I don't know what is wrong with my body. I need to have a conversation with my liver. I'm going to
You're lucky though. That's good. You don't want to be able to handle a lot. You want to be able to be like, oh yeah, I had one drink and now I'm good.
So I read this one interview that you did with Cosmo, and you said something that was really inspiring to me. And like, so for now I'm following you on Instagram for your, like, just because you're funny and you're great and because of your fitness stuff. And I follow, who else do I follow? Tracy Ellis Ross.
Oh yeah,
she's
love
really
her.
Inspiring to me too when she posts her workout videos. And who else? Like Halle Berry has become like an Instagram workout star for some reason.
So
like she
funny.
is like so. Have you followed her on Instagram?
I don't
like
follow
she's
her.
just
No.
like, oh my God. Anyway, that aside, I don't know why I got on that topic, but anyway, you said something really inspiring in the interview. You said, I guess your acting career, it's like a marathon. You call it a marathon.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what your career is. And I thought that's such a great way, because I feel like every day I'm racing to try to reach something, right?
Yeah.
And then I beat myself up when I don't do it.
Yeah.
And this just helped me when I read that. It's just helped me step back and take a look. It's like, you know, life is long. Hopefully life is long. And it is a marathon. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that, I think of it as for the marathon analogy, I typically think of it as like the longer you keep doing, like you it's not something where you're going to immediately get everything that you want out of it. Some people do, and that's awesome for them. Like I'm happy that, you know, you're 12 years old and making $4 million, you know, but it's like good for you, but that's not my life. But also it's like people get tired as you're like running a marathon. Like, I mean, people don't, you know, and the idea is that like people fall off, they're going to like stop running, they're going to give up, they're going to say, I can't do it anymore. And it's like the longer you stick with it, there's no way you won't reap benefits from it somehow. I don't think that it means like, I don't know what that means for everybody, but I think that it's something that you can't give up on if it doesn't pan out for you like immediately. And I think that that's something to remember, because it's hard. It's like, I think it's like human nature to like want everything like now and be mad at yourself or be mad at the career if it's not happening. But sometimes it's like, you never know when it's going to happen, because life is long, and like the journey is not just 6 months and then you get what you want and then it's done. It's like the journey is lifelong. And so, you just have to keep running. I had like a teacher in college that said, he was asking people, how long are you going to give this before you give up? And like, you know, like how long will you be an actor until you give up on acting if you don't get success or whatever? And people would be like 5 years, 10 years, you know, whatever. And he said, if you said any number at all, you shouldn't be an actor.
Wow.
Because he's like,
yeah.
You just can't, you can't put a time limit on when things are going to happen for you or when it's going to work. So it's like, you have to just either be all in and just like keep running the marathon or get out and find something else to do because you're not going to be able to stick with it. So I try to remember that because I'm not always good at that either. It's like, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on a show and now I'm not because the show got canceled, and the work has been really like intermittent and slow for me for the last year. And so it's hard because it's like, you just want to be like, oh, I'm just done with this. Like, I can't do it anymore. But it's like, if I had just kept running a little bit more, I think I'd actually be okay, So I just keep going.
It doesn't feel like that for me. Like you were on Shrill, you were on, the Black Lady sketch comedy show, you were on like something else. You're like, I feel like you're in lots of places. But.
Yeah, I do. It's interesting because I have done things and I've done cool things, which is fun because it's like with Shrill, like I had wanted to be on that show so badly. And so then the fact that I got on it was so great. And like, I had also wanted to be on a Hulu show. That was like a weird goal that I had for myself. And so then I was on a Hulu show, and then I got to be on my first HBO show. And like, that was very cool. And so, yeah, it's like, there's definitely like high points, but it's hard because it's like the resume keeps getting built, but for us, it's like, that's like one day of work or like 2 days of work. And so then you're just like, the rest of the time, you're just like on the grind, like auditioning every day. There was like some graphic that I saw of like, it was like an art piece. I can send you that too, just in case you want to see it, because it's kind of cool. It's like an iceberg. It's a picture of an iceberg, and like the tip of the iceberg is success, and like underneath the surface of the water is like, rejection and a million auditions and a million interviews and not feeling good enough and self-doubt and all these other things. Because it really is like, it is like I have done stuff, but for me, it doesn't feel like enough. And it feels like so few and far between that it starts to get, you start to get in your head about it. Like, why am I not working? Like, why am I not a regular on a show again? Like, so it's everybody, it's hard because it's like, it looks good. I'm glad it looks good on the outside because that's what I want it to look like.
So that reminds me of Lizzo, she said something like that. Like, people are like, oh, you just came on the scene, you just blew up. Right. And like, she's like, no. I've been doing this for years and years and years,
Yeah. There's a quote that says like every overnight success is 10 plus years in the making. And that's Lizzo for sure.
Yeah. So are you one of those people who follows, the election at this stage really closely? I know people who are like watching every single moment, oh, Bernie Sanders ate peanut butter today, and that's bad for his campaign, or Elizabeth Warren did this. Are you one of those people, or are you just waiting for the nominee to happen and then you're all in?
I think I'm like keeping an eye on it, but it's hard for me. Yeah. Cause it's hard for me to like really invest in it yet. I definitely want to see who the nominee is going to be. I feel like I'm so nervous about it in a lot of ways. Like I just want it to work. I just want it to go well. And I just want it to not be a problem. Like, I don't know. So I'm having trouble getting too invested in it. Cause it's like a really big, it's like, I feel like it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of like worrying to start right now. But it's interesting because it's like, that's why I kind of miss being on the opposition, is because it's like, we were always so plugged into that. If I was on the show now, I mean, we'd be super plugged into it and talking about it all the time and working on it and like, thinking about it. But yeah, now I feel a little bit disconnected. It feels a little hard because it's like, it feels like there's so many people in the field that it's like, okay, I need to wait till it's like at least like 3 or 2 so that I can know who I'm looking at, Cause like for me, it's like, Andrew Yang just like every once in a while pops up and I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, I don't know why. Just like, I'm not into him for some reason. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, he's running too. Like, let's just see who's really going to be in the thing, I don't know.
Yeah. There's like, I think, so there used to be about, 583 and now there are 65. I'm just joking. There's only.
I was like, wait, I thought you were being serious. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I really haven't been paying attention. Oh wow, yeah, there's so many of them. It's like there's too many.
Well, Niccole Thurman, thank you so much. I'm gonna keep following you on Instagram so I can get some inspiration for my fitness, and one day I will be a yogi.
Oh my god, I'll try to post more fitness to inspire you. And yes, you will be a yogi.
Yeah, I would. Thank you so much. I'm gonna manifest it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so now I'm gonna hit stop.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. The Electorette is independently produced, edited, and managed by me, Jen Taylor Skinner. And if you enjoy listening, please do me a favor. Leave a 5-star review for The Electorette on iTunes. It's really simple and it's free. And it's one of the best ways to help support The Electorette. Also, please follow the Electorette on social media, and that's at Electorette on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, keep up the good fight.